Almost 3 years ago, we saw the ill-fated launch of Cyberpunk 2077 in what has become known as one of the biggest catastrophes in game releases, with a game that was missing a ton of promised mechanics and featuring tons of bugs and performance issues. CD Projekt Red then slowly patched the game and started to turn gamers around, most notably with the Edgerunners update, which continued to fix the game and even introduced tons of new fans with the Netflix anime. And so we've finally arrived at the launch of patch 2.0 and Phantom Liberty, the one and only expansion for Cyberpunk 2077, before CDPR moves on to the sequel. Now, I'm not gonna lie, my excitement for Phantom Liberty has gone up and down in my own attempt at managing my expectations, and I suspect a lot of you have felt the same way. The worry that you might just get burnt again has been ever present. And now that I've played and finished Phantom Liberty, and thank you to CDPR for their review copy by the way, I can safely say that for me, Phantom Liberty and the 2.0 update is, in a way, what Cyberpunk 2077 was supposed to have been. Now of course I'll explain why throughout this video, but first I have to mention that when it comes to performance, your mileage may vary on PC, considering that I've been playing this on a high tier setup. Yes, that means a 4090 graphics card. But even after maxing out the game completely with full ray tracing on at 1440p resolution, I noticed no stutters, no jitters, and pretty much no bugs. The only issue I ever encountered was this strange skin reflection that only happened a few times, but other than that, the game has been running perfectly. Now the 2.0 update introduces entire overhauls of different mechanics. Firstly, I absolutely love the new perk system. You can thankfully finally make actual builds this time around, like an Edge Runner, Cyber Ninja, or a Hulk-type brawler, and all of the builds feel equally rewarding, mostly thanks to different combat finishers you can unlock, which are all amazing by the way. I never get tired of throwing people around like ragdolls, it's just so hilariously cool. To complement this, the cyberware system has also been updated with new cyberware and even a new screen where you can actually see V's body as she's getting worked on, as well as a little animation as you get up from the operating table. While there are some other cool changes, the most talked about new feature is the relic system, but to be completely honest, it's just an additional perk tree that powers up your already existing cyberware, like providing you access to a supercharged punch if you have the gorilla arms installed. So yeah, the relic system is a cool addition, but it's honestly not something that radically changes the gameplay. It simply makes you stronger, which, to be honest, is pretty cool. Several other things that have been added are things like new clothes, an entire arsenal of new weapons, and a new dash mechanic which makes combat much more impactful and fun if you're playing as a cyber ninja. Another new feature is the vehicle contract missions, where you collect, well, vehicles and deliver them to your fixer while facing some form of optional challenge as you deliver them. And after delivering a certain amount of vehicles, you unlock new ones to buy from an in-game website called Auto Fixers. And I enjoyed this new mission type, but it does get a little repetitive after a while, and I do wish that there were some more mission types introduced next to vehicle contracts, which would have added some variety to the whole experience. That said, there are however some other minor activities, like finding airdrops in Dogtown that contain loot, where most of the time you just have to clear the area of hostiles before grabbing the loot. I also have to mention the new wanted system and vehicle combat system, which go hand in hand, because you can now be chased by NCPD forces, and if you become enough of a threat, you can have a max tax squad drop in on your ass, who essentially serve as mini-bosses. Vehicle combat is a very welcome addition, as aside from now being able to shoot from your vehicle and even pull your sword out on motorcycles, some cars also come with pre-installed Gatling guns and even missile launchers, which is just so much fun to use, especially when facing off against NCPD. Now, as much as I like all the new and revamped features, the real meat and potatoes is really in the new side missions, gigs, and the main story of Phantom Liberty. Essentially, all the new missions go really hard on choice and outcome, and it's really one of those things that we're missing from most of Cyberpunk 2077. I don't think I've encountered a single mission that just has one single resolution, but instead provides you with different choices, both in terms of how you approach a situation and in straight up decide between A or B. It harkens back to the good old days of the Witcher and Mass Effect games, where your choices actually matter, and coming off of the juggernaut that is Baldur's Gate 3, where choice and consequence is really its biggest selling point, it just makes my heart sing to see CD Projekt Red taking the same approach as Larian, by constructing beautiful narratives where your choices actually feel meaningful throughout a constantly evolving game world. Of course, most of these outcomes only seem to be reflected in the area of Dogtown, but it's still immensely encouraging to see CDPR putting so much effort and focus on this part alone. This aspect is especially reflected in the main story and its ending, where after completion I kept asking myself, did I do the right thing? And I don't think I've felt this conflicted from a video game choice since, well, Mass Effect 3. That said, a lot of the scenarios that Phantom Liberty throws you into, main story or side quest, takes a very human approach, and nothing's ever as simple as good or evil, black or white. And so I applaud the folks at CDPR for managing to make me turn over in my sleep, pondering over my choices in a video game. The story is also really expertly crafted here, and it very much rivals the main story itself in terms of emotional impact, partly thanks to the added star power of one Idris Elba, playing the towering veteran agent Solomon Reed.
You're lucky I am who I claim to be.
Now, as much as I love this guy, I have to say that the character of Songbird takes the spotlight in the second half of the expansion, and I was taken by surprise by just how much I started to care for her, which made me even more conflicted with some of the choices I had to make. CDPR has also done a standout job at including Johnny Silverhand once again, and if all you needed in life was more Keanu Reeves, then don't worry, Johnny is back, cooler than ever, and he also has some surprising character development that I didn't expect. It also helps that Keanu seems more comfortable in the role, and I really think that Phantom Liberty is where Keanu really becomes Johnny Silverhand through and through, despite not being the main focus of the expansion. He really serves as the angel or the demon on your shoulder here, depending on your perspective, giving you advice on situations that arises should you decide to ask him. And if this is the last we've seen of Keanu Reeves as Johnny Silverhand, well, I'll be really sad if that's the case, because he injects so much character and life into the game, and it's clear that he loves playing the character.
Through that kind of hardness of his outside, there is a vulnerability to him, and I think what's great about it is I get to play that character in so many different ways, and so the range of it is cool.
All in all, it's been a long journey for CDPR as they've slowly but surely worked their way back up from the botched launch of the base game. And thankfully, the 2.0 update and Phantom Liberty add so much to the legacy of Cyberpunk 2077. With the revamped police system and vehicle combat, the new perk tree, and the tons of other additions to the base game, is Cyberpunk 2077 finally the game that was promised all those years ago? Well, yes and no. The base game still misses that quintessential aspect of your choices actually having a real impact, but Phantom Liberty shows us what Cyberpunk 2077 could have been and what the sequel can be, and this expansion proves that CDPR is on the right track. If this is what we can look forward to in the future from CDPR, then the future is very bright for the Cyberpunk franchise. Anyway, that's it for today. As always, thank you for watching. I should go.